Hi, today I want to show you how you can set up remote push notifications inside of Despia. And you may ask yourself the question, what is the difference between local push notifications, which we have available for you inside of Despia, and remote push notifications? Now, there is a little difference because local push notifications are triggered on the device, meaning you're calling a function to schedule that push notification that needs a user interaction. For example, the user clicks a button and in 20 seconds after that button click, you schedule that push notification that will pop up after 20 seconds after you run that line of code. Now, this is cool if you want to do things that work offline and if you have predictable times, click on this button 20 seconds later, we'll send you a push notifications. We do have that available and we'll be working on a video that will showcase that. Now, in this video, I want to show you how you can set up remote push notifications and how you can target specific users. Now, why do you need maybe to set up remote push notifications in your application? Let me give you an example, that has that. So, for example, you have your marketing team send advertisements to the users, right? If you have your marketing person, always send spam out or whatever, you do want, them to be able to log into OneSignal, for example, and, send every user a push notification and they will receive it over the web when it's not predictable. They don't have to click a button for them to get your ad or whatever, right? You can just send them out. That is kind of like the CRM style, how you can use Despia to then use push notifications for advertisement, like Amazon does it, like whatever, like Amazon, TikTok, Shop, whatever, how they do that. Now, there are also personalized push notifications, meaning, Mike orders something and then you say, hey, Mike, your order just was shipped. You have an API call going on in your backend, and then you use that push notification to communicate to the user's device. We'll be also talking about that in today's video and how we actually figure out which device is related to the user, because OneSignal gives us the player ID, and this is actually where it gets interesting, because we will be able to then receive the player ID using Despia's SDK, so we know which device is linked to which user in our own separate identification system in our database, be it Supabase, be it Xano, be it Firebase, be it MySQL, SQL, NoSQL, whatever. We'll be able to talk about those things as well. But, right now we just want to get started in setting up OneSignal's SDK with our app to even, get that capability in our app. So let's start with that. So as you can see right now, we are using OneSignal. And I got great news because you need the free plan. The only thing you need for this is you need the free plan of OneSignal because of the way Despia integrates with OneSignal. So you only need the free plan, and the moment you put the free plan inside of your Despia application, you automatically are able to send unlimited push notifications free of charge. That's just the way we have set things up. So that's the cool thing. You get, if you have 1 million users, if you have 500 million users, you can send free push notifications with OneSignal. And the nice thing why we actually integrate natively with OneSignal is if we go on their website, I don't want to OneSignal, let's go on here. I don't want to say anything wrong, but their own website says GDPR compliant somewhere in here. I don't know if they removed that. You can also build cool workflows here, so it's like Zapier a little bit, but you do have compliant, GDPR compliant push notifications. Where is it on their website? Here you go. There we have it. Here you go. You see it's SOC2, GDPR, CCPA. No, I don't want to HIPAA compliant. So you do have that with OneSignal, and that's the cool thing, and that's why we integrate with OneSignal. But let's actually start with the integration. So you want to go and create a OneSignal account. I already have one from months ago when I showed you how to set this up on a web application using Webflow. But today we actually do it natively, which has a lot of perks where it can work offline and it can work, you know, if there's no network connection, and it just works way better. Users don't have to consent to it, and then you can reconsent and all those things. But let's create a new app, and I want to call this app, for example, Despia, for example purposes. And then, you know, I'll just link this to my organization. And then we, in this example, are setting this up for iOS, but it would work the same with Android. So we're going to click on Apple iOS. We're setting up our APN. Then I'm going to expand on this, and I'm going to, yeah, we don't need that. So I'll just click on here. Now we're going to click on Configure Platform, and here you go. Now it needs a P8 certificate. This can easily be created if you have an Apple developer account. So let me show you how this will work. Now, what we need to do is we need to go to Apple Developer, and we're going to go to Certificates, Identifiers, and Profiles, and we're going to go to Keys. Under Keys, I'm going to click on Plus, and I'm going to call this OneSignal. This is going to give OneSignal permission over our Apple developer account so that they can run those automations for us. And then we're going to enable Apple Push Notifications Service. That's APNs. We're going to click on Continue and Register. That's all we need to do. And then we need to download this key. Now we're going to go back to OneSignal, and we're going to click on the key inside of here on Upload, and we are going to upload the key. Now keep in mind that this key needs to be created over Apple Developer and not over the App Store Connect. In Despia, your key is created over the App Store Connect because you're distributing the app. With OneSignal, it needs to be created over developer.apple.com because you're not distributing the app. You actually need to grant them access so they can do those setups. Now we also need the key ID. Let's copy that key ID, and we're going back to the Apple to OneSignal, and we'll put our key ID inside of here. Then we go back, and in here on the top, we have our team ID. So we'll copy that. Oh, we'll go back to OneSignal. We'll put the team ID inside of here, and now we need our app bundle ID. We'll find this at Despia. So if we go back to Despia, to our project, we can export iOS project, we will see the bundle ID. We'll copy the bundle ID of our app, so the push notification certificate is linked to that app that we want to add push notifications on. We'll put that inside of here, and I'm going to go on Save and Continue. Now it's going to load a little bit, and that was now successful. Now it's going to ask what kind of application this is. So you see we have native iOS, Cordova, which is actually kind of like a Despia competitor, which is not a real mobile app. It's going to give you a web view, and it's a different kind of a solution. And then we have React Native, Expo, we have Unity, we have some other stuff that's not significant, we have Flutter, and we have Ionic. Now, which are others? Which one is Despia? Now, I'm very proud to say that Despia is native iOS, because when you export your code in Despia, you actually see that that code is written in Swift. It's not written in Flutter. It's not using other frameworks. Despia is the closest to native iOS development because it works inside of Swift. That's why the Apple review team loves it. Of course, it does use a WK web view to render your HTML, even though we do a lot of magic with it, and it's 70% faster than some other of the solutions. But under the hood of Despia are over 2,000 Swift files and dependencies that are written in Apple's native language. This is why it counts as a native iOS app. It doesn't count. It is a native iOS app that's just rendering your web application with full native compatibilities. That's why we have, one of the highest approval rates, in this kind of industry here, because we're not just wrapping a website. We're actually providing, native logic with that you can easily call, NoCode, or with less than a line of JavaScript. Most of the times it's half a line. But let's save and continue using native iOS. And now we get the app ID. So we'll copy this app ID. We're going to go to Despia. In the settings here, we're going to scroll down on the right side, and we see OneSignal integration for iOS. In this example, we'll paste our app ID. That's it. Now we have that updated. Now I want to send this to test flight so I can actually test push notifications, because most of the times push notifications won't work in the simulator that you can run on your device. So we want to go on auto publish here. I already have that set up. If you want to see how you set up automated publishing to your projects, I would highly suggest you to look at the previous video that we talked about this. But let's just one-click publish it, and that is it. Now we have set up push notifications inside of Despia. But now there are a few more things, right? We want to test if this works. I'll give you a showcase. And then we also need to figure out this user that's logged in, what is their player ID? Because we may want to send this to our backend to track which device is linked to which user so that we can send targeted, personalized push notifications. But I'll be on a little break because it will take 3 minutes, even though it stopped loading, until this is actually delivered to the App Store. So I'll be doing a little coffee break, and then in 3 minutes I'll be back and we'll be setting up all that other exciting stuff. So see you in, actually for you it's right now. So now the new build was successful, so we need to do one more thing. We want to go now to App Store Connect, and once we are at the App Store Connect, we want to open our app, go on test flight, go on iOS under builds, and then I want to click on the latest build that I created and manage the compliance by saying I'm not tracking my users. If you track your users, do the thing that, is appropriate for your app. But in this case, we're not tracking anybody. Then I want to relate this to my internal group, probably by just refreshing the page in this example, actually. And we'll look at that. It's now loading a little bit. We see it's under my internal group. It's saying waiting for review. So that it's now also, because if I were to assign this to a public group, right, I would go in a review process, which probably 99% will get approved. Actually, most Despia users get pre-approved. And we also now got an email from Apple saying, hey, this is now on the App Store Connect. And now a little bit later, we'll get an email from Xcode, from Test Flight saying, hey, this is ready to test on Test Flight. And then you want to click on whatever button is shown to you. You'll be opening this in Test Flight, and then you'll say update here. You click on update, and now it's updating your Test Flight application so we can actually test this. Because in order to continue with the setup, now we want to open this. It's going to open that app on our iPhone. Now we need to do a few things, right? Because now I open this phone. This is, I think, iPhone 14 or whatever. I open this on my phone, and now if I go back to OneSignal, I need to check subscribed users. And now it says, here you go. Congratulations. First user running a iPhone 14.2 has been subscribed successfully. That was my device. Now I can go in here and I can send a message. We want to test if this works. So I'll just keep this open and we'll make a message. We'll say test message for Despia user number 1. That's the title. Oh, that's a long title, but maybe then we'll do a subtitle. Oh God, maybe we'll say test message. Here you go. We'll do test message. Subtitle will be you are the chosen one. We'll add an emoji. There you go. You are the chosen one. We sent you this message because we are testing stuff for a YouTube video. Here you go. And I could add a custom image if I would like, which is also pretty cool. And I can say launch URL, but we don't need to do that. And then I think we're good for that. Do we need a custom photo? I can add a custom photo. I can add, oops. I can upload. I got a few random stuff on here. Let's put actually the Despia dashboard in here. We'll be uploading that. Then I can send that with my message. Here you go. That looks cool for Apple, right? And then we can send review and test. And now I'll click on here, review and test. And I'll say send message. And now we'll look at my iPhone. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I got it right in here. I did send the message. If I click on the message, we open the app. So that's how we send push notifications using APNs. It's super simple. Now, how do we identify the person and how do we know which player ID? Because OneSignal now, if I go on audience here, on segments, actually it's on users, I assume. Yeah, we see we have this OneSignal ID. That's my device. But it's not saying, NoCode, ProCode. It's not saying, boss of Despia. So how do we know which one this is? OneSignal gives us the OneSignal ID. That's the player ID. And we need to somehow get this ID on the front end so our front end can send a ping to our backend saying, hey, this auth token for, Mike is related to this player ID. Now, the way we do that is we actually have a package for that, or an SDK if you use a JavaScript framework. In Toddle, we have a pre-made package. I will be showing you that in Toddle. If you use Wisp, you just use our JavaScript. We do have that in the interface in Despia. So it is the OneSignal player ID one. If you copy this code, you'll be able to log the player ID as a JavaScript variable, and you'll be able to send that to your backend if you use this in React, or if you use this in Vue.js, or WeWeb, or Webflow, or Wisp, or, but in Toddle, it's a little bit simpler because we have the package. But I mean, this is one line of JavaScript. It's not that complicated. If you have any questions with that, we're always happy to help you, and maybe even write some code for you. But now I actually am in my Toddle project, and I want to show you how we can set that up. So some random place in this application, I just want to add text. So let's just add literally text at a random place in this application. And I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to say player ID, and that'll be empty. And then I'll be going to the text and going on fx. I'll be mapping that with my variable player ID. Right now there is no player ID. And then I'll be going on my packages, and I will be going to the Despia package. And I want to make sure that it's the latest one, because we'll have always exciting updates to improve the experience. Now we got that all in here. And now what I want to do is I want to go on load of the page, and I want to run the Despia function for Despia get player ID. And then the callback, meaning once we got the ID back from the device, we're going to set the player ID variable. And then, you would probably, after this callback that you set in the variable, send this to your backend in relation with the auth token of the user, the ID, so you can map that in your database, and then use OneSignal's REST API at a simple curl command to send a specific message to that user with that player ID. But in this example, we're just going to give you a simple example on how this will work. So we're just setting that on the front end so you can see it, because most of the stuff, whenever we work with backends, it always looks so invisible. So I do like this practical approach here. So we'll just, because we're using Toddle, we have to commit our branch. So we'll just say player ID. Here you go. I'll publish my branch. Please, Andreas, don't be mad at my non-sufficient naming of things. But now, as you can see, if I open my application in Despia, we're going to see the player ID on the top here in our application. Now, this is not the nicest UI, but you get the idea. Now we have Despia send the player ID that is on the device inside of our web application, using the bridge that, the JavaScript bridge, the JavaScript SDK, and then our web application would take this once it is available on the callback, as you saw, and it would send that to our server, Supabase, Xano, wherever we store our stuff, our Firebase, Airtable, and it would send that and relate it with the user ID that it would take from a variable or from an email or from, probably the auth token that you're saving, and based on that auth token, you can get the user ID. So this is how we solved the issue that it's hard to identify who is using what device and, kind of like figuring out which device is which. With this, you'll get the player ID logged, and you can use their API, reference this player ID in your API call, and then send a push notification only to this specific user. So you can send a message only to Mike. So not everybody will get the message, hey Mike, your tracking has updated for your package or whatever. Or, you got a message from so-and-so. With this, you can send targeted notifications because that data is available for you. To you. So that's the beautiful thing about Despia. It does make those things super simple, super easy, and it's just a well thought out experience. Yeah, and that is how you set up push notifications inside of Despia. It couldn't be any more easier. It is super simple. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us in the live chat. We're always happy to help. We can't wait to see your app be #1 in the App Store. And if you have any questions, please let us know. And we're always happy to help. And if you should ever encounter any issues where Apple needs some updates, or Apple wants some information, or Apple has rejected your app because they want some changes, please don't hesitate to reach out to our support team. We have years of experience in resolving those things, and we're more than happy to help you make sure that your app gets successful on the App Store, because Despia has all the technological specs that it needs to be easily approved on the App Store. But sometimes it's that Apple doesn't like a specific part in your app in terms of interface, or maybe they want you to add a little bit more haptic feedback to your app. And we do have that experience from working with our users in building those apps, getting them on the App Store. We've seen, most of the edge cases and some tough cases, and we have been resolved most of those actually successful. I think everyone that we looked at was resolved successfully. So please, should you ever get so-called bad news from Apple, please reach out, because we'll be able to help you. So, this is where our support is here for. We're here to help you. And if you ever encounter anything with Apple or Google or with anybody, reach out to us. We'll be able to get this resolved for you. And, we'll be even, if you want, writing emails, to Apple or suggesting you, how you can resolve those things based on our experience in doing this for quite a while. But yeah, thank you so much. And the nice thing about Despia is you won't go that way alone in building your application. You always have our team on your side, right behind you, and will help you every step across the way to make sure that your app gets successfully published to the App Store. And that's my personal promise to everyone who signs up for Despia. No matter how busy it gets, I'll always have the time to make sure that every user is happy and every user has the success that they deserve, because we have the best technology on the market. But thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please write me an email. I'm always happy to help. And yeah, see you in the next video. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate that. Have a blessed day.